some partners right here. So what I'm going to do today right here is very straightforward. My task right here is to give a Klaytn technology update. So quick show of hands. How many people right here have built on Klaytn? Raise your hands. Come on, come on. Wow, wow, wow. We got 50, 60% right here from the audience actually built on it. I saw some student developers right here. Obviously, they built on Klaytn just 3 days ago in Singapore Polytechnic. If you have built on Klaytn, this is not new for you. And we have been talking about we are essentially Git fork from Ethereum, I know back in 3 years ago. And we are running something with a hybrid structures right here, with a mainnet and a service chain, and we have different use cases, running on their own service chain. 1 second block time, and it's something that we have been talking about when it comes to, we would say scalability, but it's more like the instant finality. 4,000 TPS is something mostly people talk about the TPS, but when we talk about scalability at Klaytn, we talk about the the transaction latency, meaning the end-to-end this kind of route, like how people sending requests from their old backend all the way for the transaction being mined on a block. This is what we talk about right here as a transaction latency, as a definition. We talk about 2 seconds transaction latency as a major layer 1 in the blockchain industry. And you know that it's not new, right? So I think developers right here, you understood we are actually having a governance councils, focusing on different use cases, and that's why the user experience that we are talking about right here is the scalability that we are focused on. With the scalability, we can onboard more use cases like the metaverse and all this kind of gaming company like that on top of building on Klaytn. And very straightforward right here is very simple, and our consensus algorithm is with the IBFT. But like I said, the governance council actually stake the amount and running as a consensus node. So we are kind of a mixture of both, running proof of stake as well. Whether we're going to change it, we will see what's going to happen at Klaytn 3.0. But everybody right here, you're part of the Klaytn ecosystem, and we would like to have you to build the Klaytn futures together, because essentially you're building use cases on Klaytn ecosystem, and this is something that we would like to see happening together. And whether this is dynamic or deterministic right here about the gas model, I think you got experience building on Klaytn. This is not new to you, so I'm going to go quicker. So with the Klaytn 2.0, this is not new again. This has started actually all the way from January, but I just want to have a bit more preview, or I would say overview on what is happening for Klaytn 2.0. What we were and have been looking at is to have if you want to have more use cases built on Klaytn, you would like to lower the barriers for the developers, make their life easier. That will make your life easier. So this is what we're trying to do here, is to build more open source developer packages right here. I think applying for grants may not be new for somebody right here sitting here. If you're building your use cases, you need to have a financial or grant support right here. We would like to make sure you will be successful on Klaytn ecosystem as well. You might be having a multi-chain strategies right here, but what we're looking at right here is we would like to give you the community and funding support that you deserve for your use cases to be successful, on Klaytn ecosystem and also in the blockchain industry as a whole. So this is something is not new. Since we have announced the Klaytn 2.0 all the way back this January, not until the next, but you see we have been looking at building different categories of tools. What we were trying to do and what we have been trying to do right here is to have as many open source package as possible for the developers. Imagine if you're just trying to start building on Klaytn, you're not going to start building something from scratch. You can just look at the open source repository and all the integrations being available right here, and to start or keep building on Klaytn, and to make your life easier is what we're trying to do. And the developers onboarding is what I were trying to summarizing right here. So when you look at wallet, we have, when you look at the left-hand side from your screen, all the things in yellow is actually completed with the integrations with Klaytn. And things with the blue highlight in color is actually, sorry, it was green because this green was like yellow. But yeah, so when you look at it, like the blue is actually with the EVM, the Ethereum interface, right, that support ready. What you see on the right most hand side that you can see the wallet, we have Ledger Nano trying to integrate, is in progress. And different open source tools, as you can see, like the IPFS gateway, we have been building that, and our partners have been building that right here. And other things like Oracle's Chainlink is coming up. If you test that, it's actually on the testnet right now. You can use the Chainlink Oracle features right there about the VOF and also all this kind of price fit. If you would like to, if you are part of the KLAY makers, I think obviously this is a very, very good tool for you. And other things which is not showing right here, but we liked it for everything, as you can see, is we talk about the developer communities. We would like to have you to use all this kind of open source tooling right here, and we would like to make sure you're using that without any security loopholes, and that's why you know, like co-host right here, like Hacken, you know, has been having different security audit program to make sure Klaytn ecosystem is safe enough for different tools that we have, not just for smart contract that we deploy on the mainnet. And also like Dora Hacks has been, you know, looking at supporting to have people using these open source tools to make more innovations and more implementation based on this, so that, as you can see, this is the dev stack that we talk about for Klaytn ecosystem. You have so many tools that you can get to use right away without starting from the scratch. And this is something that we have been looking at. So at the moment, as of today, I would say this is, you know, actually update a few months back. But when you look at it, you know, we have different categories right here about, you know, building DeFi use cases, NFT use cases, and specifically for NFT use cases, you got say like for OpenSea, when you look at it, they like a strong end for Klaytn. We are one of the only 4 layer 1 blockchain that is ever integrate, you know, with OpenSea. So if you are NFT developers for your use cases, obviously you will be looking at deploying your smart contract 721 or maybe KIP 17 from our case into one of the 4 blockchain. And yeah, so this is something I just want to cover. We got different use cases like security audit, we got wallet, we got tools, but it's just a lot to cover right here. And I just want to say that and present you, this is a Klaytn ecosystem. We have different you know, companies and trying to build an ecosystem together. We're not here to build a company, but we're here to build a Web3 ecosystem with everybody. That's why we keep talking. This is an ecosystem that we're trying to build. And hopefully we have all these kind of open source coverage, you know, contributions from the developers. Then you will see more, not just logo, but more categories right here on this page. So this is a bit topic that I think is too deep to go with today, but I just want to say that actually back in the versions 1.8.0, back in the end of March, we did have these we would say the support of the Ethereum equivalents ready for the Klaytn ecosystem. Put it really simply, if I were to go through all this kind of thing, which is maybe a bit tough for you to see on the screen, we were gift fork, you know, from Ethereum back in 2018. But since then, we have been making a lot of changes, not just on the consensus aspect, storage aspect, network aspect. We have made all the changes, as you can see, if you just focus on the orange and the purple colors right here. And these are the heat map where we make the changes to make Klaytn ecosystem to be successful, because we do have our own use cases and the kind of the user experience that we expect, other than you know, different layer 1s in the market. What we would like to focus when we were thinking about that is to have more security. For example, you can have a multi-key account model. You can have multi-sig you know, transactions like that would be ready on chain. And this is something that we are looking at. And most importantly, how we can make this happen for 4,000 TPS to be not the most scalable, but quite scalable L1 blockchain in the industry to have more use cases on board. It's actually based on this, because that's why we make Klaytn specific and very special than others. just like the hard fork project right there from Ethereum. But still, we are EVM equivalent, and we are thinking, and we have been achieving the support of Ethereum equivalence already. We were trying to do this for Klaytn 1.0. We're trying to make it Ethereum compatible. We're trying to make it really, really specific, really like driving away from the Ethereum ecosystem. Then we saw a problem that we need to have customized support for all this kind of Ethereum API, which as a developer, which you won't be happy with it, right? Because if you were building on Ethereum, if you're trying to extend your use cases to Klaytn, you have to, using our own API, making all the changes from your 721 to the KIP 17. This is just not something that you would expect as a developers right here. So the most, I would say the motive right here, why we would like to look at the 100% kind of a compatibility right here, which is what we call the equivalence, is to do something really simple right here, is we would like to see every EVM features, which is from Ethereum, mainly from the ecosystem, will be compatible on Klaytn. Put it in a simpler way, if you like deploy your ERC 721 or maybe 20 contract vector on Klaytn, you won't be expect to make any single line of changes then you deploy to the Klaytn. It still be working at least, but obviously you're gonna make some changes from your backend or maybe on your service level. But this is the beauty of it. What we were trying to do is to make the developers easier. And like I said, back in 1.8.0, we actually had a successful Cypress hard fork, and this is happening right here already. And thanks to the hard work our core dev team on the protocol side, has been paying to make this happen. And as I suggested, in the past, we focused on the KLAY, I would say the KLAY use cases right here, like the API that we've been using. Now we can support the ETH namespace, like all this kind of Ethereum API right there that will be seamlessly, happening right there on Klaytn. If you were to develop anything on Klaytn, just make your life easier. And also for the pre-compiled contract that we talk about from the EVM, from the Ethereum right here, they got different addresses referring to different pre-compiled contract. And we were the same, and we have been the same. So we were having some problem if we were to achieve the Ethereum equivalence. How are we going to keep on doing that? That will be another problem. That will be sticking with the client implementation. We might be looking just to have a really specific client implementation for Klaytn going forward, instead of people having Geth or Nethermind ready that you can make use of on the Klaytn ecosystem. But just want to say that the requirement are these four, and those four requirements that you see on the screen, we do have different implication. And one of the major one is, we mentioned before, is the pre-compiled contract pointers. As I said before, the hard fork, just like the Ethereum, you have different addresses right there, refer to different pre-compiled contract. But then you do have some overlapping right here when you trying to have this hard fork happen. You might need to make some changes. For example, we had something called the VM log that is referring to these addresses that we talk about, but it's actually kind of mess up with the Bake2F on the hashing program that is sticking with the Zcash back in the Ethereum ecosystem. So we need to make the changes on the address just to make sure this will be happen. And things are really different when you're calling different, I would say like a really low level functions, what we call the dedicated call or just the call function. It could happen differently, but I'm not going to cover right here. I just want to say that it looks like it's really simple that you can include these four requirements to make it even more than EVM compatible to be EVM equivalent. But you do have different implications right here to solve. And if you would like to make sure all the Ethereum API will be completely seamlessly working with the Klaytn ecosystem, and these are something that we have been solving with our implications right here. So to conclude, we do believe EVM equivalence is an industry standard. I think a lot of people, developers right here, you're building with your multi-chain strategies, which we're going to cover in a second. I just want to say that we do, at Klaytn, we do believe EVM is really the industry standard as a runtime. But obviously we keep exploring different possibility running on different runtime, like say like for the WebAssembly. I just want to say that the Klaytn VM, what we see the KL VM now and has been EVM equivalent, and we were have been talking about different developer tools and EVM and API that are all compatible and equivalent running on Klaytn. And most importantly, if you're trying to contribute to EIP, essentially you're contributing to KIP and vice versa. And essentially, when you think in this way, a lot of EIP proposals like that, they are all available on Klaytn without any major changes and vice versa. And this is the beauty about the EVM equivalence. And it's not just not only to lower the development barrier for our developers, but I just want to say that it's really grouping and make it easier for EIP and KIP. And essentially, when you contribute to one, you actually contribute to both. Nowadays, I'm quite sure some use cases right here, different developers are working on this multi-chain. There's so many EVM compatible chains right there in the market, obviously. And if you believe EVM is a standard going forward, there will be a lot of use cases about the EVM bridge between different layer one, and some bridge then trying to make it trustless. And we do see the future as well, like EVM to EVM or EVM in EVM, but EVM in EVM is something maybe Vitalik will be solving, not us, because we are coming from a standalone layer one perspective. And we have been focusing on looking at the possibility for EVM to EVM, because we know that we would like to have your use cases extend from other layer one to Klaytn easily. And at the same time, we would like to have you, we hear you that multi-chain strategies is a requirement. And we know that as a layer one, a level of cross-chain capability to support your multi-chain strategies right here is important. So, since most of you have been building on Klaytn, I'm not going to go with this one. But if you haven't, feel free to start building on Klaytn. By scanning this code, you will have the entry into it. And most importantly, I just want to talk about this. Yeah, I said invitation, but quickly, the most straightforward way is to join our Klaymakers Hackathon, which will be on the October 14. Dora Hacks right here is our main organizer for this one. Thank you for that. We also have a lot of ecosystem partners supporting this. But if you haven't submitted your protocol, feel free to do that right. Just to scan the QR code, you will be going to the submission page, and you can start building. And finally, this is me. This is from Klaytn. And if you do want to catch up with the developer committees, feel free to scan this QR code, and you will go into the link tree. And that will be me. Thank you very much, everybody.